When large fires break out like the ones in LA, help fight them comes from all over the country, sometimes the world.
But in the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire, some of that help came from an unlikely source, 2 Mountain View teens and a product that they actually cooked up in their garage. Garvin Thomas has their story in tonight's Bay Area Proud Force. Garvin.
Jessica, Janelle, I often like to think that years ago, maybe when we were teenagers, if a teenager wanted to get involved in something cool, they'd do something like start a band. Well, here we are. In the 21st century in Silicon Valley, the cool thing to do is invent a product and start a company. Even better, one that can help people in their time of need.
All right.
Now, normally, teenagers setting fires with a blowtorch in their front yard is something that's frowned upon. But that's not the case with Barrett, Deng and Sebastien Burkhardt. The reason why has everything to do with the circle of material on your screen that is not on fire.
Yes, as you can see, the treated area did not light on fire.
Now 17 and 18 years old, Barrett and Sebastien's friendship began back in middle school. But their business partnership started just a few years ago. The pair were both in Boston in the summer of 2021 when smoke from Canadian wildfires darkened the skies, something that ironically opened Barrett and Sebastien's eyes to just how big a problem wildfires are.
We realized, ooh, this was not just a California issue.
And so, being children of Silicon Valley, Barrett and Sebastien headed into a garage to invent something that could help in the fight against wildfires. What they came up with was Clore Wildfire Defense, a non-toxic, long-term fire retardant that can be sprayed on vegetation surrounding a property to help protect it in the case of a fire.
Obviously you had the planes that dropped the red stuff, right? But a lot of times the homeowners couldn't really get their hands on something like that.
Once the product had passed California State Fire Marshal testing, the teenage entrepreneurs then found a market for it among private firefighting companies, some of whom, it turns out, were working with homeowners in what turned out to be the path of the Palisades and Eaton fires.
We pre-positioned product this summer with them, so it's still in the jugs, it's in the backyards. Teams got there, they sprayed it around the yard, so when the ember cast came through during the wildfires, none of the plants were catching on fire, and the only thing they had to deal with was the active flame front of the fire coming in.
Roughly 50 homes had Clore sprayed around them, and a handful encountered active fire. Of those, all survived. Barrett and Sebastien say they can't take full credit for that. Theirs was just one part of the home's defense. They do, however, take great pride in knowing something they dreamed up in their homes gave others a better chance of protecting theirs.
Now, you can imagine, because they're so young, I had to ask him, was it tough to get a company off the ground when you're going into meetings and you're 17, 18 years old? The pair said, yeah, it was tough at first, and they really had to work hard on their pitches. But when they got the testing approval that their product worked, that opened some doors. And you can imagine now that they have real-world experience in the LA fires, there are going to be a lot more people, a lot more doors open for this pair and where this product can go.
And again, tell me the age.
I know.
17 and 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
Saving homes.
The innovation coming from these young minds.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
We should say this is not the only, fire retardant for homeowners, but what they say is theirs is non-toxic, it's very long lasting, and it doesn't hurt the plants. So you can spray it on the plants early. Rain eventually will wash it off, but you could leave it on there and it'll stay and protect those plants.
They
thought about all aspects.
remarkable.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you so much,
stuff.
Garvin.